The players want Ruud. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. We have an information overload today because we're going to be discussing, a couple of leaks coming out from the camp that the players. I'm already stuttering my words. Already at the start of the show. The players would like Ruud van Nistelrooy as their coach if Erik Ten Hag was to leave. We've also had an exclusive interview with Erik Ten Hag as well on Sky Sports, which I definitely want to get into. We've got updates on fitness ahead of the game against Porto. We're flying out for that tonight, and we'll have the press conference tonight as well. And then we have some very interesting quotes coming in from Benny McCarthy, of course, a former attacking coach at Manchester United, about Ten Hag as a tactician, as a person, and the kind of difference between that. So, yeah, a lot of stuff to get into as always, which is what I love for an afternoon news show. I always hate it when it's dry and you're having to look at news stories and you end up talking about, I don't know, fucking the food hygiene rating being 4 stars or 5 stars. Do you know what I'm saying? So we've got good, concrete, solid news, and we've got a good news show today. And it's nice to see Steph, Sean, and Abs. Is it Abs? Abs MUFC in the chat as well, and anyone who's watching this later on, if you obviously, of course, if you're busy in the day. So yeah, we had news coming out last night. Manchester United players would welcome Ruud van Nistelrooy becoming their next manager if Erik Ten Hag gets sacked. Now, coffee this morning, not a cup of tea. Needed it. You know, when you got brain fog, you're just like, yeah. You know what I did actually? Before I get to the story, just a very quick one. Before I go live now, what I tried to do is I tried to put on a song that gets me in the mood. So, for example, I had Calvin Harris, like 2010-ish, them kind of vibes, like We're So Close, Sweet Nothing, all that kind of stuff, just to get me in a bit of a jazz, a bit of a tempo before I go live, have a coffee, and you're good to go. So that's where we're at in a minute. Anyway, back to what people care about. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Interesting situation that we've got here because obviously you have a similar dynamic in, whereas when Ollie came in, ex-legend, striker, a lot of similarities there. Coaching-wise, there isn't similarities. There is a big difference. I think Ruud did a great job at PSV, won a couple of trophies. If you look at the stats and the metrics, they're all well and good, and they're all fantastic. But let's not forget, every single one of us was saying the exact same thing when it was, should we get Poch as the next manager, or should we get Erik Ten Hag as the next manager? And people were referencing Ten Hag's possession stats in the Eredivisie. They was referencing the trophies that he's won and the league titles that he's won in the Eredivisie, and the players that he's coached and the players that he's brought through, and there was a lot of excitement about it. So I don't want to be a negative Nelly on this and put a downer on the situation straight away. Maybe he will succeed and maybe he will be a fantastic coach for Manchester United, but I'm just saying sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and we've learnt the hard way a lot of the times. So look, if he comes in as an interim manager, if Ten Hag loses to Porto, we have a bad result against Aston Villa, there's no doubt in my mind that he is going to come in and going to be the interim, at least for the next couple of months, maybe until the end of the season, and then they will go and get the coach that they want in the summer. And there are 3 names that are being linked at the moment, which the Muppeteers put out last night, which I want to dive into. But he'll get respect first and foremost. He seems to get across to the players much better, which is, I think there's a struggle at the minute with Ten Hag with the communication side of things. Whoever speaks about him, and I'm going to dive into the Benny McCarthy quotes a little bit later, they talk about him like tactics-wise is unbelievable. Steve McLaren said it, Benny McCarthy has said it, Steve McLaren said it about Casemiro being like so surprised how good tactically Erik Ten Hag is, which would baffle a lot of people because there's been question marks on his tactics for a long, long time. But in terms of knowledge and knowledge of the game, he's up there, right? There's been plenty of credible people who have said that, but it's that human element, that human side to him. I'm not saying he's a robot, but he comes across like that in press conferences, and I think he may come across that in training sessions, trying to communicate his ideas over. He doesn't have that relationship with the players, whereas Ruud van Nistelrooy seems to have that. When you see him when he's chatting to players after the game, you see the connection, hugging players, like there seems to be something there. So maybe that is why the players would favour him. But he's untested in big waters. That's the difference. So I think it'd be great to bring him in, but also there's still a lot of concerns for me going forward. And people might call me negative for saying that, but there is, just because I've learned and I've been burnt before with coaches. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen this chapter before. So let's hope it turns out a different way. And who knows, Ten Hag might not even go. He might end up staying. He might end up getting a result against Porto when we're all sat here saying, Ruud still a coach at the club. You just don't know, do you? Sean saying Ruud is already working in a coaching capacity. What will change with him being our manager? It's just moving the same pieces of the jigsaw around to try and plug different holes. Ansar Al Saeed says players should have no say who the next manager is. We've got Paul Warburton in the chat as well. Nice to see some fresh new names. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. 7,095 subs we're on at the moment. So 5 subs off 7,100. So let me just get a quick swig of my coffee and then we'll discuss the 3 managerial candidates who have been mentioned. So 3 names I didn't expect. A couple of them I don't think we will get, or maybe one of them. Xabi Alonso, Kieran McKenna, and Ruben Amorim. And again, there's question marks over each individual ones when you go through these with a fine-tooth comb. Xabi Alonso, I don't think there's not a chance we get him. I know United still is a huge club, and any manager with a little bit of an ego would go into there and think I could be the guy to sort it. But you know, Ten Hag's thought that, Mourinho's thought that, Ollie's thought that, Van Gaal's thought that, and so on and so on and so on. Right? It's arguably the most difficult job in the world. It really, really is. I'm not saying they won't accept it because of that. That is something that would challenge him. But with someone like Xabi Alonso, I think he's wanted by the top clubs. If Ancelotti leaves Real Madrid, you can bet your bottom dollar that Xabi Alonso will end up going to Real Madrid and being a manager there and probably being successful there and probably winning Champions League titles because the squad that they have, the young squad, bringing in a manager who's innovative like Xabi Alonso, he could be there for a long time. And I'm sure it's something Real Madrid are looking at. It was something that Liverpool looked at least. And obviously they went a different way with Slot. But I just don't think there's no chance we get Xabi Alonso personally. I just don't see it. I really appreciate him as a coach. I think he's fantastic. But I think that's reaching for the stars when you're a team that's 6th to 8th with all due respect to the minute. I know we've won trophies, but we are way off it. Way off it. I mean, arguably, Bayer Leverkusen are a better team than us at the moment. They've won a league title. So there's even an argument to say, why would we move from there? You know what I'm saying? I know United's still a massive draw, and I know that's what a lot of people who are watching right now are thinking. I don't see it personally. Kieran McKenna, different situation. Obviously, been at the club before, was Ollie's assistant, or Ollie's head coach, whatever you want to call it. Has done a phenomenal job with Ipswich, with back-to-back promotions. Plays a really nice style of football, a nice brand. Is good with young players. But is that too early in his kind of career path to bring him in now? I'm sure there's people at Ineos that appreciate him. I know there's United fans that appreciate him. I just don't know if it's the right move for him now. Maybe a next step, maybe go to a Brighton and then to United and work your way up like that. I think it would be a huge challenge for him. And he's seen it firsthand, everything that Ollie went through. So he'll be very aware of that. But coaching ideas, I don't see him struggling with getting that across to the players. I think he's very good, and he already knows some of them as well. So it's working in a different capacity there. But McKenna doesn't absolutely convince me. I think he's a good coach, but I think he would struggle with other things as well. And then Ruben Amorim is another unknown entity. We talk about Portuguese football. He's doing well with Sporting Lisbon. I like his style of football. I think he comes across great as a character and as a manager as well. But I don't know. There's just nothing in me there that says go and grab that manager. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that's like. Whereas Xabi Alonso, I have that. I was like, if we can get him in, I think that'd be fantastic, and I would love him as a coach. I think Ruben Amorim's just a level below that for me personally. But it's another huge decision for Ineos to make because we've gotten so many managerial decisions wrong. We've tried almost every single one you could possibly imagine. We tried Fergie's successor in David Moyes. This is the guy, the Scottish manager. He could take over Fergie. He's going to do that and then completely failed. Okay, what we'll do is we'll bring in a world-class coach who's won things and has got a lot of experience and is a tactician. Louis van Gaal walks in, wins an FA Cup, gets rid of him. Okay, let's bring in one of the best coaches in the world, arguably the best coach in the world, in Jose Mourinho. Won a treble with Inter Milan, won a Champions League with Porto, won league titles with Chelsea. He's the man. He's the man. He will do the job and he will come in and he will smash it. Bring him in and it ends up fizzling out. Right, we've got an interim manager here who knows the fabric of the club. He's a legend. He's also a coach. He's earning his stripes. He's had a fantastic start. Let's see how this goes. Build and build and build, and it crumbles eventually. Interim, Ragnick knows everything about the game. He is, Tuchel's dad. He's fucking Klopp's dad. He's a huge philosopher in this football world. Bring him in, the players completely disrespect him, and it ends up turning into this kind of toxic waste. Right, let's go for the hip kind of decision, the fans' choice. Let's go for Erik Ten Hag, the Dutch coach, who's doing fantastically well, playing a lovely brand of football with Ajax, has won league titles and trophies again. Let's bring him in and see how he does. You know, £600 million spent 3 years later, we're still in the exact same position. So to say that this is when I say this is the toughest job on the planet, I don't say that lightly. I say it because it's just such a difficult job. And anyone who comes in, I mean, there's enormous pressure on them already, even thinking about the job and taking it. So if they are the 3 names, Xabi Alonso will be my top target because I think he is a phenomenal coach. And I love the fluid style that he has. And I was discussing back 5s the other day. They play with like a back 3 of wing backs when they had Grimaldo and Frimpong. But then other players would step into midfield. There's a lot of fluid and a lot of rotation. And I love the movements on the pitch. And if he could coach United players, which I don't think he can individually, to play that style of football, I would welcome that at Old Trafford every day of the week. But let us know your thoughts, guys. Let's get into your comments. Right. Steph saying siege mentality needed, and if some players are leaking stuff, root them out and remove. Captain Bruno surely get that gig. United fans says, I still don't understand how people think this manager is going to turn this around. He won't. Well, he may have an initial kind of manager bounce, but that's all I'm expecting in a minute. Where is the longevity in that, right? McMillan saying Alonso going to Madrid next season. Yep, I can definitely see that. Charlie Malm says Amarin is doing a madness at Sporting. Is the manager to get only the manager I would want is Motta. But of course, he's just moved to Juventus. Gareth Osborne says Alonso give up on as ambitions to manage Liverpool. Don't think a draw of United is high. Madrid also. There's some intelligent people in the chat. Tiger saying I would actually take Jose back and make sure he's back this time with ins and outs. Wow. That is a niche shout. Tiger saying Alonso is waiting on Madrid and he won't come to United. I would like Inzaghi or Thiago Motta. Yeah, Inzaghi. There's a couple ones that tickle me pickle, if you will. And not in that way. Inzaghi is one of them. The throat. Inzaghi is one of them. I like the football he plays with Inter Milan. Me and Aaron mentioned this on the show that we did the other day. I'm a big fan of his, I think. And he brings that kind of Italian tactical nous done it, like knows what to do on the pitch and coaches them really, really well and focuses on that a lot. So Inzaghi would be good. I think Xabi Alonso would be good. And Motta would be great, but Motta's just gone to Juventus, hasn't he? So that isn't happening. But they're the options I would consider. If we're talking about McKenna, Amarin, you know, Potter, they're ones that are floating in the air for me. They're not really ones that I want to grab and be like, right, get them to Manchester United right now. But anyway, we have a current interview to go through with the current manager. Not a current interview. We've got an interview to go through with the current manager, Erik Ten Hag. And he's done a 12-minute interview with Sky Sports, which is some revealing stuff in here. So let's just dive into it together, shall we? He's saying, I've proven I win in the last 8 years, 8 trophies in 6 years. That's what he keeps referencing, this trophy talk. Now, the issue is, Eric, you have struggled with consistency in the league. There are no fans, or no United fans at least, that are questioning your ability to win a trophy and do well in a tournament because you have proven it. You've won the Carabao Cup and you've won the FA Cup. However, you've had a really bad start in the Europa League so far. You know, when we finished 3rd in the first season, that is progression in the league because you took over the worst team or the worst finish of the season ever. You came in and you finished 3rd. But don't forget that season, there was still some slappings. I mean, we lost to Brentford 4-0 that season. We got slapped by Liverpool. We got slapped by Man City. There was progression in the league, but there was still some glaring red flags. And the record versus the top 6 was absolutely appalling. So you can keep referencing trophies and you've won this and won that. But we as a fan base, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I believe this from what people I've spoken to, things I've read. We don't want to be just a cup team. You know, we want to be dominating European football again, and we want to be at the top, competing with the likes of Arsenal, City, and Liverpool, and we're way off that. So it's all good mentioning trophies and stuff, but that doesn't wash with United fans when we're watching what we've been watching for the past 3 seasons. Now I'm gonna have to quickly switch camera because my fucking camera, I think the camera's gonna die, which is so annoying. Sorry, people, just give me a moment. Let me switch this up rapid. This camera quality is much lower as well, and it's going to annoy the life out of me. But I'd rather continue to do the show than. Oh, is it not even plugged in? Jesus Christ! Right, what a nightmare. 1 second. It's plugged in. What are you on about? Or maybe it's because of that. 1 second. What's going on here? Right, that's back on. Why is this not coming on? I'll just keep going. If it goes, it goes. But I need to. It's the camera's literally plugged in, man. For fuck's sake. I don't understand why it's not. Oh, I know why. I know why. Sorry, I just clocked. Where is it? There it is. Sorry, I'm just going through. Okay, let's delete that. Behind the scenes footage there. Alright. There we go. There we are. Right, let's just get rid of that. Check me out there, little square. Sorry, people. I don't usually do this, but the camera's just decided to completely die for some bizarre reason. Right, let's stretch that a bit. And then we can... Yeah, what's going on there? This is live technical issues as we move. So, you know, the whole behind the scenes here. Right, let's just flip this camera as well. I promise I'll have it set up and we'll continue the show in a minute. All right, we need to... It's like going through a talk through an OBS. Why can't I flip it? Oh, because it's locked. Yeah, anyone's got OBS, you'll know exactly what I'm doing here. And then let me get a rapid picture. There we go. That'll do. And we can just get a little picture of Erik up on the pitch, on the screen. We don't panic. What we do is we adapt like a chameleon. You know what I'm saying? We adapt and innovate. And then we move that down. And we're nearly done. That'll do for now. That'll do for now. Well, apologies, people, but sometimes when you're put in a difficult situation, especially when you're on a live stream, you have to pivot. Did Ten Hag sell you that camera? I know I'm going to get absolutely roasted. But I'm not worried. I'm not worried. Let's move this up a little bit. And to be fair, this is my secondary camera, so... Oh my god, what is going on? Right, that'll just have to do. Let me turn my brightness up a bit. This is my B-Tech camera, you know what I'm saying? This is what... Because the first initial ones died. There we go. Right, anyway, let's get back into the show. Apologies for people. Gasperini would also be fantastic what he's done at Atalanta. Yep, huge fan of that coach. From what I watched and seen, I believe Ollie wasn't backed. Was he? If the board listened, then who would have been at the club? Let's stop this revisionism. Ollie and Jose also had awful results. They must not be brought back. Ollie in an advisory role would be good, but not as a manager. Brendan did... Oh, I already read that out. Thank you for that roast, Brendan. Turning into the roast of Nick. Nick is auditioning for VAR controller. The way that was operating, yeah, that is basically what happens in the VAR truck, innit? When they, oh, I don't know, let's panic, let's throw everything about, I have no idea. Yeah. You cannot seriously want Mourinho back. Remember how bad it was at the end. Right, so let's get back into this interview. Ten Hag was talking about we're still in a transition period. It takes time. We've brought in some younger players. I do not buy into that. I really don't buy into that, the transitional talk. I buy into it in the first season, maybe the second season, but not the third season. No chance. He's brought in over 13 players, this man. 13 players. £600 million spent. And in our third season, we finished... Sorry, in our second season, we finished 8th. And it looks like, the way we're going at the minute, we could finish either in a similar position or even lower. So I don't buy that nonsense for 1 second, this transitional talk. You look at Pep's third season, he finished 3rd. You look at Klopp's third season, he finished 4th. You look at Arteta, and reached the Champions League final, by the way. And if you look at Arteta's third season, he finished 2nd. Even Thomas Frank finished mid-table with Brentford in his 3rd season. So I'm not having that. 1 second. Oh, better. So I'm not having that talk. I'm sorry. I'm really, really not. I think it's utter nonsense. We want to see progression. Fantastic winning the leagues. I was one of those kind of people who lost it a bit and was like really jubilant when we won the FA Cup and over-egged it slightly. And you cannot blame United fans for being like that. You can't, because we just won a trophy. We just beat City in a final. So everyone's going to be over-emotional. There were some people saying, no, still not the guy for me. And look, I don't know if these kind of people want a round of applause or congratulations, you was right. It's not about being right. It's about what's best for Manchester United, and it's about winning things. And look, we've started this season. We had a lot of optimism over the summer. Maybe that was a little bit over-egged with Ineos coming in. But we've had a poor start again. So there is only one way how we could deal with this. Sorry, I'm just changing this. Ten Hag's a bit. I'm just going to stretch it a bit there. There we go. It's a bit better, isn't it? It looks like it was hiding behind the news ticker there. So, yeah, I don't buy that. I really don't buy that. He also says, I'm not anxious about my future. We're here together. We made a decision in the future with the ownership. Young players, transition period. But they know I've always won trophies. The trophy thing is getting really annoying. It's like, you could throw anything at him at the minute. I remember the guy in the press conference, can't remember after what game it was. And he was like one of the first journalists to really stick it on Ten Hag and ask him about, you know, these repetitive mistakes that we're making in the game. And he asked Ten Hag about it, and he kind of came back and he was like, it almost looked like, you know, when someone's cocky that they're that right, he was like baffled by what they're saying. He asked him a question about tactics, and he was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And then he went, well, you know, the amount of times that you're making mistakes in midfield, how open you are on the counter-attack. I started listing all these things, and you guys will know what I'm on about. The guy who was asking the question. Really good questions. And he went, I'm sorry for you, but I've won trophies. And that was just his argument. I'm sorry for you, but I've won trophies. Trophies, with all due respect, look, we beat Liverpool, we beat City, but usually a trophy run, I mean, Wigan has won the FA Cup. Do you know what I'm saying? It's achievable. You can have a one-off game where you're really, really good. League proves where you are at on a consistent basis, week in, week out, and you play everyone in that league. Now, I would argue the new Champions League format and the new Europa League format will probably prove that, because there's more games and you've got a variety of opposition and you've got some tougher opposition in that league. So I think you should be judged more on that, because I think anyone can win a trophy on the day. Someone could turn up, someone could be really bad, but you have to show consistency week in, week out in the league. So this trophy thing, I'm just like, yeah, it's good you've won trophies. There's other, you know, Arteta, if he was to leave Arsenal now, what is his legacy? You know? But they are going on the right trajectory towards that. They could win the league title this year. Then what do you say? Do you know what I mean? Klopp built and built and built and built, won a Champions League, won to the Premier League. The question is, when are we going to win a Champions League? When are we going to win a Premier League? Feels fucking miles off it at the moment. Absolutely miles off it. The individual mistakes are a massive one with me. I mean, we had someone from Disco Mirror last night putting out the coaching staff feel pathetic. The individual mistakes by players are putting unnecessary pressure on Ten Hag and could lead to his sacking. Now, I do think it's a bit of both. A lot of people are absolutely killing Ten Hag, but it's definitely on the players as well. We can go through every game that we've played this season. We go right back to Brighton. The goals that we conceded, or the one in the 90th plus minute from João Pedro. What was it? No one marking the back post, pushing out. Is that a coach telling them to run away from the back post? I don't think it is. In the Liverpool game, when Casemiro gets dispossessed twice, is that a coach telling them to do that? No. But then, equally, when you come into that, is the build-up great from our side? Do we really need the wing-backs pushed on so high? Do we need someone like a Dallo, which we eventually turn to, dropping into midfield and giving and offering that supporting network? When Mainu got the ball turned over, was it because there was no players available, or was it his positioning? Keep going through the goals. Tottenham's goals, a lot of times dispossessing midfield, cutbacks, you know, not touching tight to your man. These are basics of football that players should be doing. And if the players aren't doing that, taking that on themselves to do it, or maybe they're frustrated with the way they're set up, that's something I would just love to get a player in the room and Ten Hag in the room and say, right, what is it? Let's have a conversation, which never ever happened, but I would love to get them all in a room and just say, Talk to me, lads, please. Explain, or just get a bunch of fans in a room. Explain to fans what you're struggling with, and then a manager, what are you struggling with? Let's try to find some middle ground and let's get this sorted. And I'm sure they're working on that every day. And I'm sure Ten Hag grafting, I'm sure the coaches are grafting. None of those players want to step onto a pitch and lose a game. I won't believe that for a second. They just won't. But you can't watch your performances back and feel positive and full of confidence because you're making the same mistakes. Eriksen, FC20, dispossessed. And he's one of the most intelligent players that we've got. He's one of the most informed players that we've got. He's probably been our best player this season. And that tells you everything that you need to know. Christian Eriksen's been our best player this season. That's where we're at. We are a fragile team. We really are a fragile team. But I still believe there are some individuals who get it, who are applying themselves correctly, who are working hard every day in training. And from a footballer, that is all you can ask. You can't just ask a footballer to just all of a sudden increase his talent. Like this, we have an average team. I think we just need to get behind that reality. We have an average team. We do. We put them on a pedestal sometimes, and I think it needs calling out, to be honest with you. And I've been, criminal of this before. You go through our team right now, there isn't a lot of players, I don't think, who should be consistently considered for like a top 4. We've got a lot of young players, so I'm not going to include them. So Yoro, Garnacho, Mainu, Højlund, Ahmad, quite a few of the list, young players. I'm not going to slate them. But we put Marcus Rashford, for example, on a pedestal, and he shouldn't be United's main player. He can be a contributor, and he could be a good winger on his day, but we're looking to him like he's our talisman, and he's never been that because he's been way too inconsistent. Bruno Fernandes, likewise, is an unbelievable player, an unbelievable creative machine, but sometimes he struggles with pressure on the big games and doesn't turn up. Lisandro Martinez, it hurts me to say because I'm such a fan of his, and I think he's a good player, but I think he's had a bad start to the season. I think he's fantastic on the ball, but as a defender, the more I watch like Saliba, Gabriel, Van der Ven, Romero, Ruben Diaz, all these centre-backs, I look at the physicality of them, how big they are, how quick they are. I'm like, that is a hindrance on us as well a little bit. Same with De Ligt. Like, De Ligt looks good defensively. He's aware. He's obviously a very smart defender. Leadership-wise, is great. But we don't have the pace and athleticism necessary, really, I don't think, in that back line to be really pushing on, playing a high line, being aggressive. If a ball goes in behind and you've got, Haaland 1v1 with Van Dijk, for example, you'd expect it to be a good, decent 50-50. If Haaland goes in behind Lisandro running, he's gone and he's dusted. So, and this isn't by any, shout, like, I'm criticising Lisandro because I love him as a player. He's one of my favourite players at the club. I just think we really, really overrate our players. And we need to calm it down a little bit. Just my personal opinion. But we had Brendan McCarthy coming out anyway, and he's been talking about, he said, Bruno Fernandes lives for football. Diego Dalot is like that too. If some of the United players had what Bruno and Diogo have, it would have been easier to get good results. So there, instantly, that's a coach who's worked at the club, who's questioning mentality, questioning attitude and application. That's why I've never been overly critical of Dalot, because, look, he had a fucking horrendous game against Spurs. His worst game, yet to date. So it shows there's still flakiness there in his game. But with someone like him, for a fact he is doing everything he can week in, week out to become a better player, to improve. And like he just said, you can't say that for all the United players in the team. Do you know what I mean? He said, Benny McCarthy went on to say, let me just get a quick swing. He didn't say that. Let me get a quick swig of my Sprite. But listen to me voice. It's going. I need to lubricate my throat. Oh. I hate when that happens. You get in a rhythm and your voice just fucking goes. You're like, what the fuck? Anyway, he says they gave their all. Some didn't. That ended up limiting the team's progress because some players weren't training to their full potential. Even in matches, the data showed us that some were performing at their peak and others a little bit below. Who are those others? Let's talk about that, people. Get it in the comment section. Who do we think are the ones that are performing below par or are not applying themselves correctly, not training right? Give me a list of names right now who you believe that is. Because he mentions Dalot and Bruno, so it's not them. The new signings, it's not going to be any of them because Benny McCarthy, left in the summer. So he's probably alluding to some of the players. Is it Ericsson? Is it Casemiro? Is it Rashford? Is it Højlund? Who is it? Is it Maguire? It's difficult to pick some out, isn't it? And I get it speculating, but you can narrow a pool of players down, I think. We won't win it by 2028. You're damn right we won't. No chance. I think it's going to take another 5 years to even get close. It feels like we're further behind when we was in the Ollie season. I'm not saying something. Will anything change if we sack Erik Ten Hag and bring in Ruud? He's already a coach. The compensation money Ten Hag would be owed can be used to buy an Emery, Gasperini, or Amarin out of their contracts in the summer. I love Unai Emery as a coach. I think it's phenomenal. How do players who clearly have talent get consistent if our managerial system isn't consistent? It's a great point, McMillan. It's a fair point. But at the moment, it seems like the players have just lost faith in these tactics and this setup and this system. And I know we've seen that before, but they seem frustrated by it. Players like Casemiro in particular, I've questioned the coach on his tactics before, and Varane before he left. And other players. And we we can't say... Oh, my God, my voice. We can't say the wrong because we have all sat here and said the exact same thing. What is Ten Hag doing with these tactics? So if we're getting frustrated by it, the players are definitely frustrated with it. I agree Steph Mainoo's dropped off and I'm worried about Yoro coming in. Nahame Fellow says Erik Ten Hag in. Charlie saying, what's a little sad? It looks like Ten Hag's tactics are too complex. Don't think with the best players in the world the tactic would not work. I'm still backing the manager, but I'm not blind. I'm surprised to see people backing the manager still. And I'm not blaming people for it, but I am very, very surprised because that FC20 performance and then the Spurs game, that was a nail in the coffin for me. A complete nail in the coffin. Mainoo has dropped off because he's burnt out. He should not be playing this much football as his age, especially as a centre mid, which is a very demanding position, and the ground that he's got to cover as well, Sean. He keeps playing the players who aren't playing well. Rashford, Bruno, like he literally said, he'll keep playing them until they get into form. Tipping point is close. Next 2 games is massive. Big up to all suffering Reds in the chat. Hi, Nicholas. Hello, Elite. How are we? Sunshine. Are we good? So, yeah, that's what Benny McCarthy... what he also said about Ten Hag as well, and this alludes to what I was talking about before. Tactically, he said, I feel Erik is at the top. He lacks a bit of that fire, a bit of that passion. So there's a communication kind of issue. I always said he does come across a little bit like a head teacher, doesn't he? And when you only have that element, that side of you where it's strict, you have demands, you have this. In this modern game, I don't think that works. I don't think that comes across correctly. Maybe for certain games like we've seen in finals and stuff, but for a sustainable future, you need to have both sides. The man management, you look at Klopp. I hate referencing Klopp because it's Liverpool. You look at his relationship with the players, the charisma that he has. Same thing with Pep as well. But then also the discipline and just the killing nature to be at the very, very top and wanting to be the best. They have that blend. Ten Hag in press conferences doesn't come across like that. To players, I don't think he has that connection. It's more of a he's the teacher, we just follow the rules, rather than a collaboration. I'm not saying he doesn't get on with them. I'm not saying he's not a human and he's not nice and all these kind of things. But you can see it, can't you? Even in press conferences. Just very clear, stubborn, discipline, focus. That's all he's there for. I think in today's game, you need a bit of both, and he hasn't got that. Right, let me provide you with some updates for the Porto game then. So, Kobbie Mainoo is fit and in training ahead of tomorrow's trip. We thought hamstring, we thought he weren't going to be available, but he's fit and available. However, Mason Mount is not taking part in the team training today and is a doubt for the game against FC Porto due to the cut on his head. It's not a concussion or anything like that, but they're just taking a precaution, so he won't be available for the game, which is a disappointment because I would have liked to seen Mason Mount against a team like Porto, who's man-marking, they press aggressively, they leave space, and if you have players like Mount who are very quick thinkers, one-touch passing, you can get at him. So it's a shame that Mount isn't in the team, but Bruno's going to be available. Make of that what you will. And there are also some concerns, and this was coming out from the Muppets, that Diego Dalot is playing with an injury currently, and that is a concern because we don't have any wing-backs available. None. So can you imagine right now, and this isn't unlikely. Touch wood, it happens. Everyone touch wood now. Because I really, really do not want this to happen. This could really derail the season. If Managerial and Dalot get injured, we are fucked. We are knackered. And we've got a big load of games coming. No, I don't think people have mentioned that. If they go out, we are absolutely fucked. There is no one who can play that. Sure, you can put people. You can play Lissandro at left back if you wanted to. You know, you could play Lindelof at right back. But we've been here before. We've seen this rodeo. We had Wan-Bissaka, Amrabat, and Lindelof all play left back last season. And does anyone remember that? What happened? Wasn't great, was it? So I am concerned about that. If he's playing with an injury, if one of those two goes out, I'm like, oh. Maybe you can. If Managerial goes out, maybe you can manage. You push Dalot back over to the right hand side. You put Leach at left back. You have, I don't know, De Ligt and Maguire as your centre back pairing. But even that is like you're becoming more vulnerable and more vulnerable. So I'm praying that they stay fit. Absolutely praying. Because if they don't, I think we're knackered. I think we're absolutely knackered. Erik Ten Hag has 10 league games to prove he is the guy. There is 4 more league games left. If I give someone backing for 10 league games, then that is what he's got, but it's not looking good right now. We want Manu to play all the time. Fans cack themselves when Manu, Bruno aren't in the team yet. Clearly, Bruno and Manu need a rest. We've been pushing for this for ages, haven't we? Bin Mount, he's never available, nearly as bad as Shaw. Manu should not be playing after a hamstring injury. He's burnt out as it is. Go with Ugarte and Casemiro. I mean, we did I don't know if you guys have seen the preview that Mish Reyes and Sam did last night. Make sure you go check it out because it was really good and really fun. And we discussed the dynamics of that, of the team and how we would switch it up. And we just want to see something different from Ten Hag. I think a lot of the fans feel the same way. He's so stubborn with his setup and his system and a certain set of players, even if they're, you know, in the worst form of their life, he'll just continue with him. I want to see something different, some fresh ideas. Good coaches are chameleons. They are tactically flexible and able to adapt to a certain situation. I referenced Pep against Arsenal last season where he started going long to Haaland and got him behind because Arsenal were pressing up. Good coaches are available to switch up the situation. A lot of coaches do it in-game. Graham Potter's fantastic at that. You know, just adapting to the coach's tactics. And I want to see more of that from Ten Hag, personally, at least. But, yeah. I'm not going to be live tonight. I think Sam's going to be live. Maybe one of the other lads covering the press conference. I'm in work tonight, so I'm not available at 7 o'clock. But please do, yeah, check out that preview that we've done last night. Get yourselves ready for that Porto game. We've got the press conference to coverage tonight with, I think, the Lobes in it with Ten Hag. So there'll be some interesting quotes coming out from that. Apart from that, check out the viral video that we did on Mark Goldbridge and Saeed TV. That seems to be doing very well at the moment. I think it's just got over 6K views, which is fantastic. If you haven't seen that video, check it out and let us know your thoughts and comments. And anyone who's subscribing, liking the video, becoming a part of the Real Red Ultra community. If you want to be a member of the channel, then click the join button. We're developing a nice, lovely community, and there's been some regulars there for quite a long time. So I appreciate all you guys, Elite, Steph, Charlie Malman, McMillan, Sean. I don't want to miss anyone out. All you guys in the chat. Sorry if I haven't missed anyone, but yeah, I appreciate every single one of you. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't see Ten Hag given a chance after chance. The first day he walked to Old Trafford, he knew exactly what the job is. Gets top 4 and gets the league. Tony Sabevsky says the problem is not the manager. He's a great manager. So was Mourinho, Van Gaal before him. It's these players. They should be ashamed of themselves. I think it's a combination of both. Personally. But everyone's entitled to their opinions, of course. We put a poll up at the start of the show saying, will Erik Ten Hag survive these next 2 games? And 45% said yes. 55% said no. So, almost an even majority there, I think. It's very interesting in it, this Porto game and the Aston Villa one. Will he get a result? Let's find out. Right, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you can, just before you head off, leave a like on the video for us and subscribe with 4 subs of 7,100. So if you are new to the channel, appreciate you guys. And I'll